Welcome to Expound, our verse-by-verse study of God's Word. Our goal is to expand your knowledge of the truth of God by explaining the Word of God in a way that is interactive, enjoyable, and congregational. We live in a culture that is constantly asking, what's next? The line between importance and irrelevance seems to be vanishing. Can it get any worse? Will it ever get better? Are we prepared? Join us as we look ahead and ask the most important question, what's next?
Good afternoon, and right out the gate, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. For those of you that may not be able to stay on with us the entire broadcast, I hope that you will have a Merry Christmas. And for those of you that's tuning in from YouTube, Twitch TV, Apple TV, and what else we got? We got about 4 different groups, Facebook groups, and our mothership group. Our mothership is coming from the Destiny page from Facebook. So we welcome all of you this afternoon. And I hesitated on sharing this with you, talking about apocalyptic at a time of Christmas, at the time of Christmas. And I don't know if this is a scene that you probably want to see. We're used to probably seeing during this season reindeer and Rudolph. But it's because of this thing, that, man, this makes Christmas even the more exciting. We needed Christmas because of that particular scene of a stampede of 4 horsemen. And so I didn't know how that was going to go. Then once I got into the Word and studying and preparing to share with you, that's what the Lord revealed to me. It's no better time now than to see why it is that we should be excited about Christmas. So again, welcome all of you. And at the end, as we study Revelation again, as we get ready to go into it, I want to always let you know before you scan through or swipe through, here's a blessing. Just to hear the words from Revelation, and blessing to read it. And so there's a whole lot of gimmicks out there, but there's the word that says you are blessed just because you stop by to hear a reading from Revelation. There is no other guaranteed chapter or book in the Bible that says that. So you want your Christmas blessing? Hang in here with us. Participate. We want to encourage you to participate. I want to thank Minister Felder, who's our producer on Wednesdays, and she's going to put up your comments, any questions at that time as well. And I will, if you desire, we're halfway through the workbook. We got another 12 weeks or 13 weeks, I think it is. But if you like the book, I'll give you instructions after the broadcast. And I want to acknowledge that we have a lot of senior citizens that have the workbook, man, and they inspired me that they would continue to learn. You would think, the older folk would say, well, I know everything now. I got everything. But we have some senior citizens in their 90s, my godmother, my mother, quite a few others that say, hey, I'm not too old to keep getting revelations from the Lord. And so I'm encouraged by them and thank them for their diligence, their inspiration to me. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump in here. I'm trying to recap just a little bit from last week just to set up the scene from where we left off. Now we've left verse 4, and I just want to remind you that this is John's chapter 4. I'm sorry. This is John's sight that God had brought him up to where he could see heaven and get a glimpse of revelation of what's to come. Now he tries his best to interpret what he sees from ancient times to now. And this is a challenge, a good challenge for preachers that even regular preaching and teaching, the challenge is that we have to take what happened, what is written from ancient time, over 2,000 years ago in their culture, and translate it to a point where we can see it in modern times and even to be able to preach it and teach it. But John is so far ahead, it's almost ridiculous to what he tries to describe. And he just does a great job because, again, God is in control of what he sees and what he writes. So we recall that the throne room, as John was caught up, the throne room in heaven, where the focus of God's rainbow circle. And this was a quick glimpse of what the throne room looks like. Of course, that picture is not, you're not going to be able to see God's face. This is more of a what we'll see. Now, I use a lot of graphics because we broadcast worldwide. We have listeners all over the world. And so sometimes my language, as I speak, is not the best. And especially, I speak English. They may speak another language. And graphics help get my thought across to everyone across the world. All right. So now John is seeing the throne room of God. And that's what it looks like. And so now there's a transaction that has happened from last week of the seals. Now, the seals have been getting ready to be passed from God the Father to the only one who was worthy. If you recall, John was so upset that he wailed, he hollered, crying that there was no one worthy to redeem the earth. We needed a redeemer that was worthy of it. And of course, that's why we celebrate Christmas. Jesus was that one. All right. Now that we understand this earth, there needed to be a redemption. It had to be bought back because there is one that rules the world. Even now, that's Satan. So let's understand that this world is not ours. This is not where we're just inhabitants of it. This is not our kingdom. Who really rules the world? That is found in 2 Corinthians 4. Satan is the God, small g, of this system of the world. 1 John 5:19, the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. So this world belongs to Satan. So this transaction happened with God giving the scroll to Jesus. This is a graphic of the transaction. When they found the one that was worthy. Of course, John should have known that Jesus was the one worthy. I'm not sure what he was going through. I think it was just Jesus came out on the scene a little late. And maybe God, Jesus wanted us to realize that he's the one that's worthy. So John begins to panic before he comes out on the stage. And so I want to remind us of what the seal looks like. If you were like me, and that's why my mom tells us, even at our age, iron still sharpens iron. I didn't realize that the scroll was one. It was one scroll. I thought 7 seals meant 7 scrolls. So seals, and you see those little red dots. Those dots are just pieces of wax with the emblem stamped into the wax. And that is one scroll. One scroll is one letter. And the letter starts from the middle. It writes out. Now, the seal separates chapters per se. If there was a regular book, they didn't have a regular book form then. So those seals in one scroll kind of separates it and makes it look like what we do as chapter pages. And so, and also the scroll winds out from the inside out, and also the writing takes place from the inside out. All right. So now we've arrived at chapter 6, if you will. So the beginning of chapter 6, as the seals are open now, the seals been passed to Jesus. Jesus now opens the seals. Judgment take place on the earth. Now there are, and this is not in material, there's a group or doctrinal teaching, perhaps. I don't want you to say doctrinal teaching, but there is a school of thought that we are in the post tribulation. They're called post trib, meaning that they believe that we are in the tribulations now. I don't believe that, because listen, I know I'm saved. I know I'm saved. I know some of my family members, they're saved. I know some of my friends, my elderly, I know some of them are saved. They're still here with me. So that means the rapture has not come and is not a post-tribulation. So perhaps what we are seeing is the last days. That's no doubt. If you would go back and look on YouTube, you can look at our studies in the book of Jude. Jude gives us a clear example of what the last days look like. And certainly we are walking according to what Jude describes the last days. Now, this is called pre-tribulation, trib. And the pre-tribulation is those who are living in the last days. So the tribulation hasn't come. This judgment has not come yet. So that's my school of thought, and that's from the angle that I'm teaching you from, the school of thought that the judgment is coming. It is not here. Now, there's a lot of things that are going on that will make it look like we're already in tribulation, but it's only the signs of the last days, and we'll get into a little bit more of that in just a few moments. So with that said, so right now, just know that we would be in the rapture. Saved people, those of us that know the Lord, would not see this. We would be already raptured up as he begins to open the seals. Now this is why this is important that you study this, that you even have the material, because I do believe that we're not far off, which means that in the next generation or two, maybe, and that would be for me, my great grandchildren, I believe the Lord will be coming back by that time. And I could be completely wrong, and he'll come back tomorrow. All right, so let's make that clear. Nobody has a date. Nobody has a date. Anybody that comes to you with a date and time, they're from Satan. All right, so just know that. So by me just seeing the signs, I'm just guessing that there will be another generation that will actually experience this judgment. So I say that to say this is why it's important that you study this. This is why it's important that you want to be in this book of Revelation, so that you can be an answer for your family when this starts to happen. Or you may be gone, dead and gone, but your studies would be here. Your studies would be here if you have it on paper, or if you just transfer it from your mind to your children, your grandchildren, so they can continue to teach their generation. So that's the reason, the motivation for you to even be here today to study this. All right. So I've spent a lot of time in the intro, but we're going to jump on in here at our first point. So the lost world. Well, I do need to go to John 5:22. John 5:22 said, "The Father judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son." So now he has the seal The Son has the seal. The lost world likes to see Jesus, as I stated earlier, as a baby in the manger, or just see him as love. But he will mete out the judgment on the earth. And so the scene again shift from the throne room now to the judgment on earth. Our first point we want to look at is the white throne from chapter 6, verses 1 through 3. Verses 1 through 3. I feel like I'm missing something here. Oh, okay, here we go. So, verse 1 says, then I saw, when the Lamb broke one of the seals, one of the 7 seals in Revelation, and this is what he saw. What he saw, he sees the Lamb, opens the seal. Here's one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, come. Minister Felder, I'm sorry I did not put the points in there, but if you could try to do that for me, unless I can get Sister White to do it. All right, so we're going to look at they're simple. It's just the first point is the white horse. So what is it about the white horse that we shall learn? All right, so it says, one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice with a thunder, with a voice of thunder like, come. John looks and sees a white horse. All right, so then, I'm losing. All right, let's look at verse 19:11, chapter 19:11. He saw the heavens open up. That is also a part of chapter 6 in the description of how it is that Jesus begins the crown that's on Jesus' head. So you'll see this crown, and this is what that crown will look like. I hope you can see the other horses coming along with Jesus. Now, this is the crown that Jesus will be wearing. That is a victory's crown. Now, understand this, that there's a crown that's going to be worn by the one that's on the white horse, but it won't be a victor's crown. He's going to be the one that represents the Antichrist. People will think and believe that he is Jesus because he has this crown. But the rider of that white horse represents the Antichrist. The combination of the rider having a crown and a bow, but no arrows, indicate a conqueror of diplomacy. Now, he will conquer diplomacy, but he's not the conqueror of the world. And that's not the crown that he's wearing. So in the beginning of the Antichrist will not appear, he won't appear to be this murdering, killing type leader. And you've probably heard before that he would be one that would bring false peace. So Paul warns of the day of the Lord of judgment will come like a thief in the night. He will come like a thief in the night. Meaning that, now this looks like daylight, I'm sure. You got it. But even in the daylight or nighttime, a thief, you don't know he's coming. It's just when we're going about our daily, like now, we're just kicking it. And just like Jesus will come when we're not aware. That's why I say I can't tell you exactly when he comes. He may come tomorrow. He may come before the day is over with. He will come like a thief in the night when our minds are not focused on him. Most people. All right. So Paul warns of this day. And it will happen while people are saying, with this Antichrist, while people are saying there is peace. There is peace. 1 Thessalonians here says peace and safety. Peace and safety. So this is a good example. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travailing upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So this is a time where we would think that the world would be at peace. Okay, now there was at one point during the reign of Donald Trump, and I'm not taking no snapshots at him, but it was at a point that some people believe that. Hold on, let me get this from Miss Bunny, Reverend Bunny Miles. I'm trying to love the story of the four husbands. Okay, so make comments if you will. That'll help me out with my teaching. I like responding back and forth questions. Donald Trump at the time, there was his followers believed because he was supposedly making peace with some of the dictators around the world. Others believe that he probably was the Antichrist because it was, and that came to. Now I would say that was probably a good example of what he's not the Antichrist, of course, but that would have been a good example of one that was able to make peace with some of the world's worst dictators. And so this person, though, would be able to make peace with not only the dictators of the world. The reason why I knew he wasn't the Antichrist because there were so many people on his neck from America itself, so our country was separated with a whole lot of stuff going on. So that's why we knew that we should have known that he wasn't the Antichrist. But this person will be able to even have peace in America and peace around the world. And that at that point, we should be getting concerned if you're here. Now, if you're not saved and you're listening to me, listen, you definitely need to be listening. If you're putting off getting saved, because you may be in this, you may be a part of this, so you'll know what's going on. But again, I say those who are saved, we're doing it not just for ourselves, but to have an answer for our friends, family, and children, grandchildren. So then suddenly destruction will come upon them instantly. Now, the future world leader will come promising again peace. I'm on page 54 for those who are following with the material. Peace and security, and many will be deceived. Next, Christ opens the second seal. The second seal, Living Creature says, come. Come. That's the red horseman. In verse 4, this begins, let's read verse 4. Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another. All right, so this is another reason people would believe that we are in perhaps tribulation now because of the amount of killing that goes on with us. So there's all the killings that take place, at least in America, even across the world. You think that we are in the Antichrist. So here's the thing: if you think that's bad, and it is bad even now, imagine how much worse it's going to be during the tribulation. It's going to be horrible. It's horrible now, but good God, this is what the red horseman's job is. So it happens on the earth in verse 6:4. If you can put that up, Mr. Feather. Verse 4. All right, says people will slay one another, which refers to war. An indication of the intensive bloodshed. The rider on the red horse is described as one with having a sword. I don't know if you saw that. Well, no, that's not him. There's the sword. So he would have a sword on hand as well. And that would represent the wars that would take place. Unimaginable destruction and death could suggest the destructive power of nuclear weapons. That's why this graph have the fire behind the horse, the scene of a nuclear weapons. Know that we'll get more into that in just a minute. I was going to talk about the destruction the nuclear weapons could have, but we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But some interpreters think it could being referenced to one of the persecutions of Christians, and like they did in the book of Acts, the Old Testament times, during the days of when Roman Empire. So some think it would be that type of persecution on Christians. However, this passage tells people that people are killing one another. So that's why it can't be the persecution of just on Christians, because Christians wouldn't have, the wherewithal to strike back. And so this is just where people are killing each other. And that's what the text says. So during the persecution, Christians did not kill their persecutors. All right. During Jesus' teaching of his disciples, they often represented end time believers. For an example, in Luke 21, Jesus tells them that they will hear of wars and rebellions, but not be terrified. And we find that in Luke 21, and verse 9 says, for these must first take place, but the end will not be at once. So that is where perhaps that we are now, where we are hearing of the wars and rumors of wars, but the end isn't just yet. All right. So now, even today, as of last week, we are fiddling around with threats between China and Russia. Those are two mighty powers, superpowers, besides the United States, have nuclear capability to take this world out. So are we there? Again, I can't say we are there. But again, this is possible, and this stuff will happen immediately. Now, if you've followed us since chapter 1, you know that suddenly Jesus will come back. The tribulation will happen. That means that, like a domino effect, and I say this again for those who may just now be hearing me teach on this, that it's not going to be a slow movement of the end of the world. It's not going to be a slow movement of Jesus coming back like he's going to be coming. I used to think he comes in a few miles from heaven, then a few more miles in a couple of years, then a few more miles he'll sit and wait, and then eventually he'll get here. No, now it is that I understand that it will happen suddenly. It means that he will come like this. It will happen all of a sudden. Once the dominoes starts to fall, once the signs start getting closer and closer, his time will come. And that's why also he says that we just read that he will come as a thief in the night, that it will happen so suddenly. So can this, what we're going through right now, be a stage where they're setting up? We never know, between Russia and China and us. All right, let's pause and read what Reverend Miles' statement is. It says, the white horseman comes as a deceiver and with the instrument of war. About a bow. Are we on? We're still on the red horse. Hold on a second. I'm getting lost here. Yeah, we're still up with the red horseman. We'll pick that back up. And well, since we done passed the white horse, we'll go back at the end. See what that was, so we don't lose track here. All right. So this begin. Well, put it back up. I don't know if this in conjunction to the red horse. Hold on. Go ahead and let me see that real quick. He will conquer through the Cold War. He is Satan's man. We accept the offer of Jesus Christ. Again. Okay. All right. So let's stay with the red horseman right now. All right. So the red horse. This begins the second part of the tribulation, as we mentioned. Now, let us go ahead down to the black horseman, verse 6. The wars that began with the opening of the second seal, the red horseman, that's where the wars began, of the second seal will continue for a brief period before coming to the millennial kingdom. following the red horse. And verses 5 through 6 says that the black horseman, whose rider holds the scales of commerce, a load of bread, a loaf of bread, will cost a full day's wager. I'm not sure if it has the wine in there or not. All right. Okay, so at the opening of the third seal, I think I want to show you. No. All right, so at the opening of the third seal, a black horseman appears with a rider who has a pair of scales in his hand. Now, you saw the scales. The scales are balanced, and it balances everything. In a nutshell, we're going to be trying to get food. So at this point, during the wars, after the wars are taking place, there is going to be famine in the land of great proportions. Not like what we see now or what we think of now, but in great proportions worldwide. Like the fear that we thought we was running out of food here. I think earlier this year, last year, earlier this year, where we thought we was running out of food. That should have concerned some of us. I know, I was like, whoa, wait a minute now. But this stuff again is the tribulation period, which we would not see. So that's how you check off. If you know you saved and this stuff is happening, well, let me put it like this: if this is happening and it's the tribulation, then you have concerns. But if you saved and this stuff is happening, then you wouldn't be here for that. So even with the stuff coming off the shelves and not being on the shelves, I say earlier this year, will cause us the thought that, okay, is this the tribulation? No, again, because I myself know that I'm saved, so I know that I hadn't missed the rapture. So the tribulation has yet to come. So these are indications, though, of the last days. So God has given us snapshots. He's given us some revelation of what is to come, so that we can get our house in order, get our children in order, and grandchildren, friends, and family. So a lot of this stuff we've seen, the rumors of wars, the Cold War that Minister Miles was alluding to. But we won't. Those of you that are saved won't be here for this. All right. But if our children, our family, and friends are not saved, they will see it, and you want to be able to share with them so they would know. All right. So I'm gonna skip through because again, this was just famine. Let's look at before I skip through. Let's look at John verse 6. Verse 6 on page 55, Minister Felder. I think I have it. It says the 3 quarts of barley could be bought at the same price. I'm on the wrong page. That's right. Readily available, much cheaper than wheat. Therefore, it was used as a major source of animal fodder. All right, maybe I didn't put that in there. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the pale horse. Now, at this famine time, some would suggest that the rich will be able to afford the oil and wine. That's why it's mentioned there about the loaf, and the cost of it. And it's something that we see even now especially in the United States, where our government, the rich gets richer, and off the backs of the poor or the middle class. And so it will be again of this going on at a great proportion here. So it's suggesting that the oil and the wine will have the average person cannot afford. For whatever reason, oil and grapes crops would not be harmed. Therefore, it is a command to a limit judgment. All right. So pale horse. Pale horse is in verses 6 through 7 through 8. I'm sorry, 7 through 8. It says, I looked and behold a pale horse, ashen horse. The right interpretation of that is pale horse. He who sat on it had the name Death, and Hades was following him. All right. So, when Christ opens the fourth seal, John sees a pale horse. The word translated pale is pale green. It's the mean pale green. It is the word from which we get the word chlorophyll or chlorine. The pale green symbolized the color of a decomposing corpse, a dead person that's been dead for a while. The rider's name was Death. That's the rider's name. Death, on a massive scale, is the result of a widespread. You had two things that the two lead horses left us. One was famine and wars. So the two horses left, and you see how this coming down, how it's actually happening just like that. So now the wars has happened, leaving dead bodies. The famine has happened, leaving dead bodies. And now death has come to claim those bodies and Hades, the souls and the spirit actually of those bodies. A death, the soul of a lost person goes to hell, to Hades. Though translated hell in the King James Version, Hades refers to a region of departed spirits of the lost. Scholars E.W. Vine explains that in the New Testament, Hades never denotes the grave, nor is it a permanent region of the lost. In a point of time, it is for such an immediate state between decease and doom. All right, so it's a time between where they have died and gone to hell. All right, verses 20 through 15 is a good example of that. I think I have that for you. Here it is. It said Revelations 20:15, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. All right, so at that time, those who had died due to the famine, due to the wars, now death comes to claim their spirit and their soul, and to place them in hell, to meet those who has preceded them in hell, meaning that who has died. All right, so by this time, we are all gone. So everybody that's died before then and now at that point in time is automatically sent to hell. All right. Okay. Now that was something interesting, wasn't it? All right. So the rider's name is Death. All right. Now, the rider of the pale horse is given authority over the fourth of the earth. We find that in verses 6 through 8. I think I have that for you as well. I do not. Yeah. All right. Hades was to follow with him. All right. Hell was to follow with him. I don't have that. All right. Let me read verses. That's verse 8. It says that the pale horse was given authority over fourth of the earth. Now, this seems to mean 1/4 of the population of the earth will die. 1/4 of the population of the earth will die. Now, listen to this statistic. At today's populations, figures of more than 6 billion people total. The total death count would be more than 1.5 billion. Nothing like this has ever happened in human history. And that's why Jesus makes what statement of the Great Tribulation in verse Matthew 24:21. Such was not seen from the beginning of the world until now. No, never will be. All right. Um, let's look at this from this standpoint. This is a kind after war, after famine. Now you see this stuff on TV, movies. Listen, this is where the movies get this apocalyptic scenes from. And so this is, I think this is like New York, and it's just an indication or similar to what perhaps all of the world will look like during this time, according to Matthew 24, verse 21. All right. So the pale horse, again, is riding with that type of authority and have not seen it before any time in the history. Even the hydrant bomb. Let me just go back to the pale horse rider has an authority to kill with the sword and make war. And before the atomic and the hydrogen bombs, such losses were not thought possible. But now, since the nuclear bombs have been invented, this is highly possible that this can happen. All right. Besides the killing of many people, others will be left alive but injured and helpless to defend themselves. Therefore, what would kill them, according to the last phrase in verse 8, wild beasts of the earth. So this is getting to be a horrible time. Death is all around. You can't escape it. You can't escape the death. This is a horrible time. All right. So no one can possibly say exactly what this all means. However, it must not be overlooked that there is a remarkable parallel between the four horsemen of Revelation 6 and what our Lord says in his olive discussion in Matthew 24. In that passage, Jesus is talking about Jews who became believers during the Great Tribulation. Many interpreters think he is referring to the destruction of Jerusalem by the Roman general Titus in 70 AD. However, the devastation of what that event doesn't even come close to what Jesus describes. So what happened again has never happened in history. So even those who think that this has already happened in Titus, back in with Titus in 70 AD, what's going to happen does not compare. First of all, they didn't have the nuclear capabilities. And so what nuclear can do to a city, human beings, has never been heard of before now. All right. And then closing here, page 56 again, just give a quick recap. So the white horse represents deception and peace. Jesus says, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. Find it also in Matthew 24 and 5. Then the red horse rider has a great sword and takes peace from the earth, as in verse 4. Jesus says there will be wars and rumors of wars, but not the end is not yet. That's also in Matthew 24, verse 6. Then what Jesus say in Matthew 24, verse 7, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And then last, the black horse represents famine. So Jesus says there will be a famine. Famines are always followed by disease. So you have wild beasts after the famine and the wars. You have wild beasts killing, and you have diseases and that's killing people, such as the bubonic plague and even the pandemic that's happening now. So these are, again, COVID-19 is not the end of the world, nor was the Spanish flu back in 1918. But these are signs of what can happen. So when we look at the book of Revelation, we can't look at it and say, oh, that stuff is impossible, especially when we're now seeing the capabilities of that happening. Now, don't forget that John, back when John wrote this and saw this, it was unbelievable. If anybody or any generation had a hard time understanding this, had a hard time believing this, it would have been their generation. And I would give them that, give them that ticket. But for us, all of this is very possible. There's no way we should walk away putting Revelation off in some kind of, putting it away in a safe place and never reading this book, because it has nothing to do with the rest of the word. Listen, this book is real, and it's the roadmap to where we are. So God is continually showing us that we will be without excuse. Now, our generation, we can see this happening. We know the capabilities. We know the capability of famines. We know the capabilities of disease, pandemics. We know the capabilities of food not being on the shelf. Shoot, we're still in this pandemic, and it's still not yet finished killing massive of people. We have the nuclear weapons. We know what it can do. We saw what the atomic bomb did. That doesn't compare to nuclear warfare. So now we see this, and it's very believable. You see how powerful this is? I don't know, maybe it's just me. That this is so powerful that God has chose you and I for this time. That we would live in a time that this would not be so far-fetched. With John, Paul, Mary, since we at Christmas, Mary, Joseph, the disciples, John the writer, Mark, Luke, all those guys that had a hand in writing the Bible. When they wrote it, they couldn't see all of this. But you and I, regardless of what part of the world that you're listening to me from, you know that this could happen right now. So it may have been an excuse for them in BC time, back in the Old Testament with Daniel. When Daniel wrote about all this, and they couldn't really have an idea of what this stuff looks like. And now we have it right before us. So this is a time that we continue to want to learn. We want to now bring revelation back to being a part of the Bible. All right. So all these things in Matthew 24:8, all these are but the beginning of the birth pains. It's the beginning of the birth pains. Thank you, Mr. Feller, for putting that up. For the nations will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines and pestilence, earthquakes in various places. All of these are the beginning of sorrow. Jesus is coming at any moment. Are you ready? And here's the thing. This is a symbol of pregnancy, the world, and how it talks about the world being pregnant for its sorrows before the judgment. And since the Bible describes it as a trimester, being pregnant, I would say that we're at least in the 8th or the 9th month of the judgment of this pregnancy of the world. Now, you don't have to be afraid if you know Jesus Christ. And you can know him today. That can be the Christmas gift. Listen, Hebrews 10:31 tells us it is a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living God. This day waits on no one. This day is coming. This day can happen tomorrow. All the signs are there. The pregnancy is there. All now is just waiting for Jesus to pop the first seal? Will you be raptured? Will you take the real meaning of the Christmas season? Here it is. But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Romans 6:23. He is the gift. That's why we celebrate him. If there's no other time in history of the Christmas that you've ever celebrated, this four horsemen is a reason why to celebrate him. Celebrate his coming, because he's coming again. I celebrate him as a child coming before us because he is that gift that allows us to be saved. Time is now. Amen. Time is now. Time is now. Thank you, Sister Mills. Now, Jesus is the greatest gift. So I don't know about you, but that's what I want for Christmas. I got it for Christmas. This is what I want for my grandchildren and my children. Y'all see that? Y'all put that gift under the tree for your great-grandchildren and children so that they won't have to experience this horrific death of the world, this horrific judgment of the world. This is what I want for my great-grandchildren and my children. Toys and all that stuff, PlayStation, it doesn't amount to this. And they have PlayStation even now for PlayStations, and it represents some of this stuff that's going on, but they don't believe it's real. So it'll be an easy teachment because they play it on the game. And this is where the game creators get it from. Even though they believe it or not, it's a good story. And it's a good piece to so there's without excuse. There's wisdom in that. I believe God probably allowed that to happen to get to the young people while they're playing it on the game. But we got to bring the knowledge to them. All right. Okay. So I don't want to hold you too much longer. Thank you for your patience. Got kind of messed up there. I don't know. Been a long week for me. So keep me in prayer. Next time, Minister Reverend Miles, I may have to get you to take over from me since you like this story. All right, so we're going to be in Revelation 7 next week. And if you like the material, that book is $14, I think it was. $14. If you want like a copy of it, it goes from Revelation chapter 1 all the way to Revelation 24. 26 lessons in it. You can email me at mydestinycc @yahoo.com. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, we've begin to talk about relationship and marriage, dating. And last week we started, and it was crazy. It was crazy. We had a lot of fun. I think that was the most fun I had all year long. All right. Thank you, Mr. Miles. I tried. The day was a struggle, but I'm going to talk to you. We're going to talk, Mr. Miles, and help. Maybe you can come on and help me out on some of this stuff. All right. Thank you, Sister White and Mother George. Y'all are too kind. All right. This is what we're talking about tomorrow. Now, my mama listening, bless her heart. She one of the senior citizens that they not shying away from no teaching. So they done learn how to get on this here social media, Minister Felder, and learn how to operate this here thing so they can learn. Now, I'm going to say a word that she may give me a whooping for, but it's in the Bible. She wanted me to learn the Bible, so that's what I did. I learned the Bible. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about, are you dating or married to a jackass or ass? Now, mama, that's what the Bible said. I ain't put the scripture up there. I'm saving it for tomorrow because folks don't believe it's in the word. So are you yoked to a ass? Yeah, that's what we're talking about tomorrow. So mama, don't whoop me. You told me to learn the Bible, and that's what it say. All right. So tomorrow at 7 p.m., man, we had a hilarious time. So I'm looking forward to you guys coming back and participating. And let's sit down and talk for the Christmas season. Get you in the right. Get your partner right for Christmas. Amen. Maybe you get a good gift. Okay. All right, God bless you. And if I don't see you no more um, uh, the rest of the year or before Christmas, from First Lady and I, Minister Felder and Deacon Joanne and our staff, Reverend George, we wish all of you a Merry Christmas, but we hope to see you on tomorrow. Now, have a blessed rest of the day and be safe. Love you.